Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order at 9:30. Adoption of the agenda. If you'd read the recommendation.
That West Elgin Council hereby adopts the agenda as presented.
Mover and seconder, please. Tellier and Rowe, all in favor? And that is carried. Certainly a reminder to disclose any pecuniary interest. We have our next item up is quarter revision. Brandon, good morning.
Sir, we have to move into it first.
Okay,
So I need the council proceed into the quarter revision at 9:31 a.m. Under section 46 of the Drainage Act.
mover and seconder, please. Latham and Rowe, all in favor? That is carried. Good morning, Brandon, again. We'll turn it over to you to
Oh, okay.
no? Did you have any comments you want to make to start, or do you want to get right into the drain appeals? And do we have any written appeals?
I do not have any written appeals.
We'll have a call for any late appeals. Can you do that for us, please?
If anyone has any late appeals, there is no one here in person. There is one attendee who is not on the drain, so there will be no late appeals.
Okay, and we've received no comments.
Nope. There is no landowners on the drain attending the meeting, so we can move on past there.
Cool.
So if members have any comments or questions.
This is short and sweet. Any members from council have any questions for our engineer, or? Seeing none, anything that you need to add to it, Brandon?
Well, it was entirely assessed the developer, so I'm
Pretty
sure.
straightforward.
I believe Tom is either securing or secured somebody to construct it.
Yeah, it's ready to go once we approve the bylaw.
Okay,
So we're at the point where I will read the recommendation.
sure.
That the Court of Revision for the South Branch of the St. Thomas and St. Thomas More Branch of the Mackenzie Drain hereby approves the schedule of assessments for the South Branch and St. Thomas More Branch of the Mackenzie Drain as outlined in the engineer's report dated August 17th, 2022.
Okay, mover and seconder for that. Tellier and Latham, all in favor?
So the Court of Revision for the South Branch and St. Thomas More Branch of the Mackenzie Drain now closes at 9:33 a.m. I need to move in second for that.
Mover and seconder for the adjournment, closing.
Angela, let's go hand up.
Oh, Angela, yep. And Richard. All in favor? Carried.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah.
Good day. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, next item was the adoption of the minutes.
That the minutes of the council meeting on October 6th, 2022 be adopted as circulated and printed.
Mover and seconder. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Latham. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, recommendation next for the consent agenda.
Anybody want any items pulled off the consent agenda?
Just the fire report.
You want that pulled off?
What do you mean? I just wanted to ask a question on it.
Okay, so the fire chief didn't attend, is unable to attend.
That's okay.
But yeah, if you want to ask a question, we'll remove this. And put it under items for consideration.
Yeah, but he's not here.
No, so if you want to just ask him separately.
Yeah, I'll have to ask.
That's fine.
I'll have to ask the fire chief, which next time he's at the meeting, we can discuss it. It's nothing urgent.
Yeah. He'll be at the next meeting. Okay,
Okay.
so if there's nothing else to discuss, the recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives and files the consent agenda.
Mover and seconder. Tatalier and Cameron, all in favor? That's carried. Where are we at?
We're on
now?
budget to actuals.
Oh, we're down on staff reports, budget to
Yeah.
actuals. Okay, Magda, I guess that is
Would
yours.
you like me to put it on screen, Magda?
I can certainly go through each individual department since this is the very first time we are reporting budget to actual for this year.
There we go. Put it on the screen.
Yeah, Jenna's gonna do it. Here we go. So the very first page, taxation revenue. Everything is still requires a lot of adjustments. That's why, but based on taxation billing, we are very close to the budgeted amount of $3.8 million. Local improvements are there's still going to be a few adjustments made, and PIL that always fluctuates. That depends on the number of write-offs. Miscellaneous revenue. I don't see any issues. Grant funding is dependent on our remittance and our reporting. So some of that stuff was not done yet, but certainly will be completed by the end of the year. Before I move on to another department, does anybody have any questions in terms for miscellaneous revenue and taxation? No? Okay. Next one is council. No concerns. There is significant saving in our election expense, as you can see. The $30,000 were budgeted. Looks like we're only going to use 1/3 of it, which is great news. Yeah, so the rest of the money will remain in reserves. As for administration, wages will probably be below the budget. We have vacancy in finance. Recruitment is not going well.
Sorry.
As you know, it's almost impossible to recruit skilled people. No other concerns. Municipal modernization, that $27,000 that you see under special projects. This is the money spent so far towards electronic
Our laserfish
modernization. There's some payroll and accounting,
automations, yeah, automation of
efficiencies. So
Has there been any discussions about to continue on with that program? I know the meeting we had with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, all the mayors in West Ogden certainly encouraged them to look at.
there's been no intake for as of yet, but we're not, that doesn't mean it won't happen.
He recognizes the benefits that have come out of that investment.
huge benefits.
Huge benefits all across
Yeah.
Ontario. And
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens if, they got a good thing, maybe they'll keep it going.
I hope so. Without that money, we wouldn't be able to
No,
We wouldn't have-
progress as fast with
Yeah.
efficiencies and
We've used it for so
upgrades.
many upgrades.
our legal expense is going to be way over budget due to union certification. So I'm hoping, I'm estimating another $20,000 will be allocated to that account. Advertising, a little bit higher as, with the job posting, we still advertise in our local newspaper for our community. So that's basically that advertising expense is just a chronicle advertising for job posting.
That not go under recruitment.
We could,
We've had other
Okay.
notices in there, though. We're still advertising in the newspaper for things like
taxes. are
taxes,
due.
garbage, fire recruitment, all of that. Like we're advertising a lot in the paper still. We're trying to get away from it. But it's a mixed bag right now.
Yeah.
There are still some policies that, like for yard waste day, things like that. So,
It is part of the recruitment. However, we're trying to capture all advertising cost in one account, so. That's all I have for administration department. Does anybody have any questions? Bonnie?
Through the chair, I just wanted to clarify about the grants and donations line. I think the budget was lost it now, 30,000, and there's 7,900 in that line right now. Is there much more that needs to be recognized there? Or do we have some
there'll be
grant funds to spend?
fair.
Fair expense, fair grant did
Uh,
not go through.
No, that there will be the night market, the West Lawn Christmas Parade. We just paid off the bills for the lawn bowling. There'll be a fair amount still to come out of
Yeah.
there.
Mhm. But we will not exceed $30,000 budgeted amount, I don't think.
No,
So from that, we're moving on to municipal building. No, no major issues. The wages under that department, that's what we're gonna end up expensing for this year as council remembers. We tried to this was internal position, janitorial position was an internal position. We have been very unsuccessful and we had two replacements. We decided to go the other route and outsource that position to third party. So that expense is being captured under janitorial expense. And there was no budget allocated at that time.
That insurance line, is that total insurance for the corporation or just?
No, this is just for the buildings.
The fire hall and the,
No, just the municipal building. We allocate insurance to a different department based
we're
on
paying $48,000 a year insurance.
for municipal, for our municipal building and back shop.
The one facility.
Yep.
Oh,
Our insurance is close to $300,000.
Was it like 287 or something? is what I remember
Yeah.
seeing?
Yeah,
Cause it went up 28%. did it not?
Yes. As for municipal building renovations, the money that we budgeted that will be coming from reserves, $347,000 will be allocated at the end of the year, and we should be able to meet the budgeted deficit of $153,000 roughly. For the Old Town Hall, no issues with the exception that we just discovered that gas was not disconnected.
Oh,
So immediately we phoned Enbridge, so that's will be done soon. Water on that building was disconnected and we're still paying insurance of $4,200. The consulting services under that department, this is the work that L360 has done. They prepared concept drawings for the new Old Town building. This was supposed to be presented to council back in the spring of this year. Unfortunately, we decided to postpone it as with the election, and the timing was not right. We decided to defer that project to the future years. So that's why.
I had a good number of questions about it last night. What's happening and what when I think the new council sits, that it's gonna be something that we're gonna have to move to the front burner and start talking about this.
Grants are good till.
10 years. When we received it was 10 years to complete the project.
That was one of the big concerns, was how long are the grants good for? I know I've spoke both with Karen and with Rob about supplemental on that, because, you know, as they were granted in $2019 and then COVID hit, things have changed dramatically, so. 24, to look at it again or not.
Also changed it quite a bit.
Which,
Building code and AODA code has also changed. So there will be more AODA requirements.
Does anybody have any questions for the Old Town Hall? We're gonna move on to the fire department budget. As you can see, wages are not posted. Our volunteer firefighters get paid annually. Their payroll will be processed first week of December. When I spoke to the fire chief, based on the fire call attendance and training, we should be able to meet 2022 budget for wages. As for the capital expense, we have finally received the compressor. This was a 2021 purchase. Money is sitting in reserves. As for SCBA conversion, so when we purchased this asset, the company shipped several different parts. When they actually came to the fire hall and started assembling it, they realized that they shipped too many things that were not required. So that credit that you see of almost $21,000, they will be reimbursing us for the cost of the unused parts. So there's huge savings. There's money. There's a little bit of money left of our budget of $80,000.
that
Any-
$50,000, I see there's nothing going in there. Is that the vehicle reserve?
Yes,
Okay,
that $50,000 will be transferring at the end of the year.
okay.
Any questions? Leasing, billing. So basically, County of Elgin does the billing for policing. That $470,000 covers, I believe, January to June, first half of the year. So there's no major issues with that. Costs not going to change. Conservation Authority, to the budget. Building inspection. There's going to be some additional cost for in contracted services, as during the summer months, our chief building official had to obtain help from a third party. The company is called RSM. They were helping our reviewing the plans, and during her most busiest times. So not sure where we're going to end up. That those services were not billed yet. We're awaiting the invoice.
Going back to policing, I bet you there's a tremendous amount of people in this municipality of West Ogden have no idea that we are paying close to $1 million a year for. Wonder why their taxes are what they are. One of the reasons, and I'm just sitting here wondering how we can possibly get our message out better to say that.
If people read their tax insert, they would know that.
Well, you almost, yeah, I don't know whether you have to walk up and down the street with a flyer saying, you know, it's costing you $1 million for police. But that's a lot of money.
It's on our website, the breakdown, all of the
Yeah, we've
information.
done everything we
We've done
can do.
everything we can.
I tell people numerous times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on to bylaw. So things have changed as of September. Our bylaw employee hired finally for the third time probably. And we are obtaining services from Tenet. No billing was received yet. I haven't received any
You just got it.
for the month of September. So that has been delayed. I will be creating a new account for contracted services. Wages will not change, and with combining bylaw and animal control, we should be able to meet 2022 budget, as there is quite there will be few dollars left in under animal control. And there is, and in case we run into deficit, there is money in reserves in animal control that can be transferred to cover the deficit portion.
Question on animal control. Where does a critter go that's been caught in?
Lobo. Goes to the Lobo Animal Shelter. It's where we have a temporary agreement with until the end of the year, or we have new services. There are, the London Humane Society did win the contract with a large group of people that used to use Vicky. However, I'm not interested in them doing full-on animal control, because we have Tenant doing dog pickup, like, you know, doing our actual bylaw enforcement. So they are giving us a proposal just for pound keeping. The person who purchased Vicky Kyle's, the
Yeah.
animal shelter, she is in the process of getting herself certified and will be giving us a quote and proposal. All of this will come to the new council, as well as there was someone in Wallacestown who is possibly interested, but she has to build a building and is probably 3 to 5 years out. So for right now, they go to Lobo.
Well, in the Facebook world, somebody dropped a dog at Vicky's.
So that was yesterday, so I can explain that whole.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay, the OPP picked it up.
Yeah.
And I told him to take it to Lobo, which is our contracted services. I understand he's an OPP officer and didn't want to drive that far. He stopped there. They said they'd take it.
Okay.
So she's doing this out of the goodness of her heart until she can get her full-on license from Southwest Middlesex. This is where we're at. Yeah.
I kind of got a chuckle. I had a picture of the dog in the back seat and the dog was going, I didn't mean to do it. I really didn't."
Well, that was from the backseat of the police car.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it knew.
Yeah, the dog said, I've never been arrested before.
So. Yeah, nope. So yeah, the OPP officer dropped him off, and yeah, so we're still dealing. I spent half my day yesterday dealing with
Dealing
that.
with
yes.
that. I figured you probably would be. Yes, Tress.
Through the chair, moving on from dogs to cats. So on line 7681 for animal control cats, the actual is nothing there. We don't control cats in our bylaw, do we? Because I don't think we do.
No, and Vicky only took them if she had room, which was almost never.
Okay, because I remember reading the act, there are bylaw, sorry, recently, and there's no cats mentioned in there, so I wondered why there's a line. So we just keep the line as a holder and as a place mark each year?
I
and
mean,
then if something changes kind of thing?
Right, so next year, I think we'll completely remove that budget,
Okay,
but because Vicky occasionally depended on availability, she kind of handled cats, so that's why we,
okay. I just have questions about cats all the time,
yeah, I
so
believe it.
that's why I asked.
Hey, any other questions? No. Okay, we're moving on to municipal roads. So I'm estimating that all our operating expenses will be significantly lower, as we're constantly dealing with vacancies. And, you know, from operating expenses from A to G. Those are our employees' wages allocated to those departments. There's budget will not be exceeded in terms of that. As for capital project, the bottom line looks like we spent $2 million and we overspent, when you look at the bottom line to the budget, $1.6 million. But if you remove Furnival Road reconstruction, that money is coming from federal gas tax. We're below our budget. Public Works shed will be completed this year at the end of the year. The money is coming from 2021 transfer to reserves. For Walker Street reconstruction, that project was deferred to 2023. Stormwater management plan will not be initiated this year. However, there was an opportunity, and I will let Lee explain it better. We have replaced, basically, we are using the money allocated to a stormwater management plan to replace the culvert lining, as there is an opportunity and significant cost savings if we don't do it now, but decide to do it 2 years from now or even next year. It's going to cost us 10 times more, or maybe not 10 times, but 4 times more. But I'll let Lee speak to that.
Yeah, through the chair, just so the stormwater management plan, we're not going to get that completed this year. So there was the $100,000 that was there. We have a culvert that goes under McPherson Road at Highway 3 that is to the point where it's going to fail. It's very deep. It's about 30 feet in the ground underneath a big gully. So right now the county has already secured Robinson Construction for their slip lining projects this year. So we were able to piggyback off the county's tender to receive that pricing. Robinson can still do that work this fall. So if they can get that, if we can get that done, that, and it's not going to use the whole 100,000, the job will be 32,000 to have that pipe slip line. But even putting that slip lining off to next year, there's going to be price increases, obviously, with materials. I would say easily 50% more for materials next year. And if that culvert fails before we get a liner into it and we have to dig that road up, we're probably 10 times is probably pretty fair assessment. So
$1 million job.
so that was our plan. We just spoke with Robinson early this week to confirm that they can still do that. And that'll be putting a liner through and then grouting it to make it a secure connection again.
Okay. Any questions?
It must be a nightmare trying to budget in the last little while, Magda, because, you know, there were so many projects that were budgeted for and anticipated, and then COVID hit, and some have been postponed and some have been changed and some are starting now, and yeah, it's all over the map. It'll be just wonderful to get back to some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're constantly bouncing back and forth and,
Yeah.
you know, trying to complete things and have it reasonably priced too. So, and last 2 items. So bridge on Fleming Line will be completed by end of the year, as well as a big project, excuse me, Blacks and Kintyre Line culvert replacement that will be completed at the end of the year as well. Does anybody have any questions?
Bonnie.
So through the chair, is the Furnival Road reconstruction complete now?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I think there's additional things like additional parking spaces that will be painted. That's what I'm hearing.
That's,
There was they missed one or two and we did talk to the county last week and it's coming.
well, that's the other question that I have, the parking sign on Cornerville. How far from the corner, Lee? Is it 100 feet, 120 feet?
The southwest
Yeah,
corner.
down by in front of Fordham's empty lot there.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that far, probably 60 to 70 feet likely.
It's a really a long ways. And I'm really questioning whether it needs to be that far, because I've drove through other communities and if you look at, say, Aylmer for an example, 73 highway and number 3 highway, the parking is a lot closer to the intersection than what we've got in Rodney, and that's a much busier. And I just see those parking spots that I don't know if you're hearing it in Rodney. Those lines have caused a lot of turmoil. In fact, I had a conversation with a gentleman last night about the lines, and I said, well. He said, I don't know. When I was a kid, I could never color within the lines, so maybe you just don't park within the lines. Yeah, it's really,
So Councilor Cameron has her hand up.
okay, Angela,
Through the chair, we shouldn't be advising residents to park outside the lines. In West Warren, people park right up to the stop sign and it's safety hazards. There's been almost accidents. So that's not really something as an elected official we should be telling people to just ignore parking signs, especially when people have been given, violation signs and notices. I understand it's an issue, but in the other village within our community, it's a big problem because people physically park on top of the stop sign and people safely cannot make left or right turns. So there's 2 big issues within both of our villages. We can't solely focus just on one.
I don't think anybody ever mentioned not paying any attention to the parking signs. My
Just
question
said it.
simply, my simple question was, are the parking signs in the right place?
Through the chair, though the parking signs in both villages are set out as per Elgin County's parking bylaw. They were put there because for different reasons, there are certain minimum requirements that need to be met. And there are also certain requirements that need to be met for proper sight lines. That intersection in particular, because of the geometrics of that intersection, how the road curves back, it doesn't allow for you even, you need more lead time to be able to see that traffic coming north. So, I mean, those are all things that are set out by the county and, they're there for a reason. So, and the parking stalls, I mean, obviously downtown Rodney never had parking stalls painted before. So, as Councillor Cameron said, in West Lorne here, where there are no stalls or very few stalls, there are people that tend to park too close to an intersection. And because it's been done for the last however many years doesn't mean that it's not, that isn't a safety concern. So they don't just randomly, place parking stalls wherever they feel like it. It's all, there's measurements and there's requirements from intersections that, show where those need to be. So I would be confident to say that the parking in Rodney, the ones that are painted are in the right spot, or the parking signs are in the right spot.
Okay. Where are we going to now?
So we'll be moving on to county roads again. I have no issues under Elgin County revenue. We're still planning on billing the county for the remainder of $278,000. That will be done by the end of the year. So the only item that I was gonna bring council's attention to was the the service, the shared service that we had, I guess we could call it shared service with the township of Southwold. And again, because it relates to roads, I will let Lee to explain this.
Through the chair, so in past years, past practice has been that the township of Southwold, who purchased the line painting unit from Elgin County at Amalgamation, has done the line painting for their own municipality as well as Dutton, Dunwich and West Elgin. And it was brought to our attention very late this year that Southwold was going to be unable to do the painting for both West Elgin and Dutton, Dunwich. So that left our two municipalities scrambling to try and find another contractor to complete that work for 2022. So we have been in discussion with Guild Electric, who is the company that completed line painting for Bayham in the eastern part of the county. It looks like they may have time to get the bulk of our roads. So we don't know that we'll get them all done this year, but we'll get the main county roads, the higher class roads, we'll get them all painted yet this year. But there is going to be an additional cost because obviously, we've had the benefit of having a very good price per meter for the last many years through Southwold, which is below market price. We're going to we'll do what we can do this year with the budget that we have. And then moving forward in 2023, there is going to have to be an adjustment in the budget numbers to complete that work.
That machine's got to be getting old tired now. It's been around a long, long time. Any other questions? Are they still having discussions on road rationalization?
We haven't had a transportation master plan meeting in quite a while, so I'm not quite sure where they're at with that.
I think it just probably has died till the councils.
I assume once you get into closer to the election, nobody wants to discuss hot button issues.
Moving on to Service Ontario. Service Ontario, as you can see, is doing great. Now that we are open for 20 hours a week, we can certainly justify the costs. As you can see, we have been able to decrease the level of deficit. Although funding from Service Ontario due to pandemic has increased over the last 2 years, and it's reflected in our revenue, as you can see. So it's been, Kathy's been busy. 2.5 days that she is open, it's steady. Yeah, we've been experiencing steady traffic, so no concerns with Service Ontario. Does anybody have any questions? For county transit, we have received provincial gas tax in full. This year's allocation was close to $5,000 more, which is good news. Bus trip revenues are still low. I'm not sure if we're gonna see any increase for the next 3 months. It's going to be revenue will be slightly higher, but we're going to finish way below the budget. As for wages, there are no issues. Wages will be slightly lower this year as we had help who was filling in for our bus transit driver for 2 months. So that will be reflected in wages. Besides that, insurance ended up being slightly higher of what we have anticipated, doubled for 2022. And gas, fuel, it's as of $7,200 is as of August 31st. Fuel fluctuates so much. I'm hoping that we'll be able to close with $15,000. And I think looking at number of trips and judging by the number of trips, we'll be able to come out below the budget of $15,000. Transit bus is on order. Probably we're expecting probably a late spring to hear from our dealership. Moving on to street light. Oh, sorry.
Through the chair, a couple of questions there. I did notice the insurance was, do we know why it doubled?
The insurance went up, overall, it went up 22% for the entire year. When we budget for insurance, we kind of estimate, we don't have the breakdown of what each individual department will be allocated. So when I did the budget, I believe for transit, because in the past transit never went higher than 10%. So I believe I budgeted an increase of 10%. It's I'm not sure why transit insurance doubled. I can find out more details, but it's probably due to high risk.
I
And-
guess I was wondering whether it was because of little bumps and repairs and things like that.
No, luckily, up until this year, our insurance company does not check, and the accident that we had was not reported to the insurance company, as the amount of damage was not that significant. Starting this year, the insurance is being more strict. And they require basically full abstract of our employees who are driving municipal vehicles. They are taking number of years driven into consideration, their clean records. So there's a lot of, as of this year, we are submitting a lot more information to the insurance company as we have in the past. And that information, they will be basing our next year premiums on the information we are submitting to them.
And the other point that I was wondering about is, are you planning to add the reserve amount into the partner grants
Yes,
total still?
yes, I am
It
at the
is.
end of the year. Yes. we
It's still
have-
kind of new and I wanted to make sure that
Yes,
it didn't
yes.
get overlooked because.
Yes, no, it
always-
will be, this is being done at the end of the year.
Mhm. Okay.
Next one is street lights, no concerns, minor repairs, and sidewalks. Again, that $100,000 spending for the sidewalk is being deferred to next year. So that money will be put into reserves, and perhaps next year we can come up with even bigger project, twice the size, for even better rates. For
Yes, Bonnie.
So does that include the sidewalk at Graham and Marsh?
Yeah.
yes, so
So it was deferred because,
Lack of interest from contractors.
because it's small, too small?
Too small, and the fact that I think the mayor alluded to it there earlier with projects. We're not the only one that have had to defer projects over the last couple of years due to COVID. And this year was the first full year where everybody was ready to get back in, and there was just so much work that, you know,
Thanks,
the bigger contractors like the Picolis and Franz and Autoform, they just, you know, they were tackling the big projects and they weren't interested in the small ones, and we just couldn't get reasonable
Mhm.
pricing. So
Okay.
we're gonna try and get it out early next year, and hopefully maybe some of that influx has been taken care of, or some of that overage has been taken care of this year, and we can get it done next year.
Next one is Rodney Sewer. Big capital project. So far that almost $51,000 consists of engineering fees. The plan for the project is to start sometime in the summer. Our engineers are just finalizing tender documentation. That documentation will go out probably in January. The reason why this project was kind of deferred to next year was, again, because of the prices. It was too late in the year to tender, and they decided to defer it to the next year.
Who's engineering that?
RV Anderson.
Okay, good.
Any? Oh,
Yes, Angela?
Magda, do you foresee, based on with the increases that are going on, this staying on the projected budget that we had?
yes. Yes, there is, they are actually at this point, they are warning us there's going to be significant increase of at least $500,000
And
over our budget.
over $500,000 over our projected budget from that was given to us.
Through the
earlier.
grant, yes. We have additional money that we are using, OSIF grant. Well, at this point, we'll see. There is some money set aside for Rodney refurbishment. So if that is the
We
case,
set aside that we had contingency, but I don't recall. I mean, it was quite a while ago that we set aside quite that much of contingency, though.
there is additional $700,000 in OSIF money that could potentially be used for this project. But again, it's hard to tell. The project is divided into two phases. Phase one is mechanical upgrade, and phase two is lagoon dredging. RV Anderson decided to go with mechanical upgrade first, and then focus on lagoon dredging. So that second part, perhaps we'll be looking at some cost savings and to see if our municipal staff can kind of handle certain aspects of the project. This was discussed initially with RV Anderson. So at this point, there is enough money for the mechanical upgrade. As for lagoon dredging, we're going to have to come up with different options.
Okay, thank you.
West Lawn Sewer, no issues. We are in year 4 of the loan repayment that we took for refurbishment of this plant. We are, based on the numbers, we are setting money aside for the future replacement of the plant, which is a good news. I know that, it's hard to announce increases every year, but as you can see, we have no choice. And West Lawn, as it stands right now, is looks like it's going to be in a way better position than they were 5 years ago. So that's a good news. There's no concerns with West Lawn Sewer. Next one is water. No issues with water. There are few capital projects that will be unfortunately again deferred to next year. Everything is triggered by pandemic. So for AMR software and hardware replacement, parts have been ordered. We are still waiting for the shipment. Not sure when that's gonna happen. Again, we're running slowly out of time, so I am running under assumption that this project will not be completed this year. The same with meter replacement. Again, we only have 2 employee department. There's so much they can do, and now with only 1 person covering the entire department, we're constantly dealing with staff shortages. So COVID, there are residents that are still not comfortable letting people inside their homes. So we're kind of, things are being delayed and they are out of our control. Does anybody have any questions with water? For the water department? Bonnie?
Through the chair, I just wondered whether, what sort of percentage of our revenue we're not receiving billing for waters and sewer. I just wondered how far behind we are with the.
Well, for water, I cannot provide you with precise number as far as percentage because I would need to look it up. But I know that our receivable level has decreased significantly as of July 1st, we are transferring unpaid water sewage bills onto taxes. So, I mean, we're shifting receivables from one account to the other to the taxation. So there's, when it comes to that, and there is not a lot. So far, we've done 2, and there was only 3 or 4 customers involved. And
Okay.
so the rule for transferring for taxes that is supported by bylaw is anything above $400 is being transferred to taxes. So if there is unpaid bill of $100, we're still leaving on. We are charging a penalty on unpaid balance, but it's not being transferred to taxation until they reached a threshold amount of $400.
Okay.
Next one is landfill. I have no concerns. The only thing I would like to point out is the garbage and recycling collections. I am still waiting for waste connection to. We had initial discussion with them as we have contract with them, but because of the fuel prices, they are trying to push some kind of increase or somehow trying to be what's the word? I'm trying to find the word compensated for the increase. We haven't received anything yet. Whether it's going to come this year or they're going to leave it, and
What's the contract for?
contract ends in. When does the contract end?
2 years. We've got 2 more years
From-
left on it, and then
2025.
yeah, 2025.
2-year extension to 2027 if we're interested.
But the recycling, we start getting paid by the province starting in January or July of next year for the recycling collection. Whether it'll cover our full costs, we're not positive,
I don't think so.
but it will,
Well, one thing about it with the price of fuel is, what I see in London yesterday, $2.30 some odd cents for a liter of diesel. Costs are gonna go up
Mhm,
dramatically.
mhm.
I don't think you'll find a contract anymore, Lee. Do you think that doesn't have a fuel surcharge, component to it? No.
Mhm.
I don't think, going forward, that's just gonna be the norm.
Mhm. With that, I just want to give council heads up. When it comes to garbage and recycling collection, that the cost may go up at the end of the year. Any questions for landfill? Cemeteries, $3,300 was spent on for the cleanup and putting fence around Fleming Cemetery. So that project is complete. I'm not
I
sure.
think there's some additional work that probably needs to be done there. We can evaluate that after the crops are up.
Yeah, I
or
haven't.
In the spring.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I know that they are still planning on refurbishing
Some stones.
some stones. But I think that's going to be a project for probably next year. Arena. No concerns. We're hoping now with Southwest Middlesex Arena being closed, I'm hoping for our revenue to increase and if we have ice time available, I'm hoping that Southwest Middlesex bookings come to us for the time being. It's always
all the
lumpy.
public skates have now been, and we have a waiting list for people to sponsor all public skates.
Very good.
So that's guaranteed income.
Mhm.
Has everybody had the opportunity to be in the facility in the last little while? Guys have done a wonderful job. It's very, very impressive for a small town arena.
Mhm.
Maybe we could discuss or do you want to do that under the minutes? Yeah, okay.
Couple projects that are being done at the arena is drain repair and new troughs that will be completed by the end of the year. And as for the roof painting, work started in the fall in September, but 50% will be completed this year. And the remaining portion of the project will be completed in the spring of 2023. Moving on to Parks and Recreation, Marina. Underground maintenance, $7,500. 98% of that amount belongs to fish cleaning station. As you are aware, fish cleaning station is costing us a lot of money. Has been ongoing maintenance and
Yes, Angela?
So is there a thought of how to deal with this so that it's not being transferred back on the levy?
I had conversation with the yacht club. They are open to ideas of whether they're willing to cover a portion of the cost. I am not sure. We didn't have a chance to approach them yet. We will be having future discussions with them for plans on how we're how we're gonna maintain that fish cleaning station going forward, and how we're gonna deal with an increasing cost of maintaining that fish cleaning station. So that's in our plans.
So it never really got better as people got more used to using it.
It was very frequently used. I think that holding tank had to be emptied, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, at least once a week during high fishing seasons. Twice a week.
1 to 2 times a week during the. I think, sorry, through the chair, I think the bulk of that expense, there would be some expense, and that wouldn't be captured in that line. It would be in the wages transferred in for our staff to do the cleanings. They cleaned the unit every morning when they were down to do the washrooms. You know, we were called occasionally on evenings and weekends to go unplug the unit when it was used improperly. But the bulk of that there is from, I think we'd be between 17 and 20 times likely that we pump the unit during the course of the season. So it's a double-edged sword. It's getting a lot of use, and the people that are using it enjoy it, but it certainly is an expense, right? The more it gets used, the more often we have to pump it out.
Have we ever looked at setting up a user pay system with credit card?
The only option, the only idea that I briefly discussed with the yacht club was to implement additional fee for the slippage. Let's say additional $2 that the yacht club could collect on behalf of the municipality, and at the end of the year, based on that, reimburse us. That would be because those are the people that are using fish cleaning station.
I think we're probably not going to solve that problem this morning, but I think it's something that we need to discuss probably at one of the first opportunities we have to sit down with the yacht club. Correct.
As for the Parks and Recreation programming, things look good. Some of the municipal programs have already started in the fall. Under municipal programming, so as you can see, hanging baskets donations and municipal run programs, there is no budget against it, as those two accounts were one of them was created this year, middle of the year, when we started babysitter and home alone program. So that's where we are capturing that revenue. And hanging baskets, we didn't have revenue, but basically, I'm not sure if we omitted it, but if this was omitted during budget negotiations, but that's what it is. And expense is being captured under municipal programs, and hanging baskets, flower baskets expenses down in the middle of the income statement, $2,500. So as for Christmas parade, so there is a credit balance right now, and the reason for it is because last year's Christmas parade was paid late, really late in the year. I think it was paid in March or April. The books were still open, and basically this was omitted because when at the end of the year, if the invoice is not there, but we know that there's an outstanding expense, we accrue the cost of it, so it goes in the right fiscal year. Unfortunately, what happened, because the books were not closed, we were able to process the payment in previous year, and at the same time we have accrued it, so we kind of we're making that correction on our financials. Yes, so that $1,700 credit is the reversing entry of previous year's expenses. Any questions on programming? Moving on to Recreation Center. Good news, the capital project that we have, roof replacement and eaves troughs, will be completed this year. We have received a reasonable quote despite price increases, and for that $60,000, we are able to install a steel roof on the rec center. So
Finally. The last roof we put on.
yes. Any questions on the Recreation Center? Cool. Pretty much all the expenses are in, with there might be a slight delay for utilities, or they are always a month and a half behind. No concerns. The capital project for the liner and tile repair was not completed this year. We are deferring it to the next year.
How are we doing on our full staff? Do we have enough qualified staff, and do we need looking at growing our own by providing them the necessary training to have them when we need them?
We have the majority of the staff from this season are going to return next year, as that was our that's what we were told at the end of the season. And we also have gone out, we are seeking individuals that are interested. If they're interested, now is the time to try and provide them with direction on how to go about getting. Obviously, we can't offer the programming at West Elgin because it's a seasonal pool, and by the time it opens, it's too late. But now is the time, those courses that they are required to have run through the winter time at the YMCA and different places like that. So now is the time to try and find anyone interested and provide them with that.
That's the solution to small rural municipalities. We have to grow our own staff right here.
As for the operations, and no concerns. Good news, Christmas lights are on order, and they will be, we're expecting them middle of November, so just in time for Christmas. Oh, we had internal committee that consisted of Lee and Jenna.
I think it was you were away, Bonnie, we showed them the ones we picked, but yeah, we want to keep them budget, and we went seasonal, so they can stay up. They're not specific to Christmas.
Oh, I see.
So there's two different snowflakes.
And another pull type finishing mower. It is on order. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to get it this year. Probably we're expecting in spring of 2023. So the cost will, at the end of the year, will be accrued accordingly.
Just on the street or on the Christmas lights and the hanging baskets and all that, Are you still thinking and looking into having our own lifting device to be able to do that in a timely manner instead of relying on someone else? Certainly.
Yes, through the chair, that is a piece of equipment that will come forward in the 2023 budget. And there'll have to be obviously training along with that as well.
It'll make your world a lot easier. Make our world a lot easier for people not saying when are the hanging baskets going to go up.
Port Glasgow Trailer Park, I just realized that you are missing half of the financial statements. I'm not sure what happened there. Just looking at the screen, your revenue, the revenue is missing. I don't know what happened there, so I'm just gonna provide you with a quick update. Yeah. Sure. I just did the snippet for the revenue. Let me just make it a little bit bigger, Jenna. Would it be? So trailer park in terms of revenue is doing well. There is a slight increase in seasonal fees. Rough.
Hard to see when I've got something covering things up.
There you go. That's so much better. Yeah. So camp seasonal revenue slightly higher from what we have budgeted in 2022, and transient almost doubled. Park was extremely busy this year. And the same with laundromat. Laundromat is being used on regular basis, and the fees that we have increased are reflected in our actual revenue. So park, in terms of trailer park is doing well. As for the capital projects, there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done on the sewage side. That will be completed once the park is closed. War monument and gates have been completed. Actually, the last, this was one account. War monument was refurbished prior to this year in 2021, and the gates have been installed just in time for park celebration. And stairs, we decided to defer stairs replacement to 2023.
That related to contractors as well and costs, or?
And engineering, it was it was almost impossible to engage engineering company for work like this.
Okay.
Rodney Library, no issues. The revenue comes from the county of Elgin and is being paid quarterly to us. No major issues with both buildings. As for West Lorne Library, at the end of the year, we split operating expenses for this building for West Lorne Complex 3 ways. Unfortunately, County of Elgin have established rates for our for the use of this building. The cost is still split 3 ways, and support services, West Elgin Support Services are contributing 1/3 of our operating costs. So that's usually done at the end of the year once all the expenses are in. Planning, there will be a few adjustments as Southwold, Township of Southwold was not billed for 50% of our full-time planner that we had up until June 30th. That billing has to be done. And as far as wages, that's there will be no additional expenses. However, our planning is we're as of July 1st, we're using consulting company, and that billing is listed under contracted services. There is going to be significant, we're going to exceed the budget. I'm not sure where we're going to end up with the deficit, but planning will be certainly affected by the changes that we had. Under economic development, the $30,000 in and out that you see, revenues and expenses, that's the grant that is approved and paid by the County of Elgin. So we issued a check to grant applicants, and we get reimbursed by the County of Elgin for it. Any questions on that? And for drainage, the only department that may not fluctuate. I don't expect any surprises from on drainage. And lastly, debentures. So this is the amount that we pay to West Elgin Mutual and Ministry of Finance for tile drains debentures and water debentures. So that amount is expensed under debentures, but collected through municipal taxation under local improvement. So it's in and out basically, and there's no financial implications. Does anybody have any questions?
Right.
Through the chair, when we came on in council almost 4 years ago, we had a lot of back taxes. And that obviously affects the budgets and things. I know we decided to have some tax sales in that. I know it takes a long time to get those sales going, and everything's a huge process to do that. How does that look now?
So there's always properties that are eligible for tax sale. We're trying to avoid that process as number one. It is very costly for the taxpayer. And so we're trying to establish good communication with the residents, and then come up with, even though they're unable to pay their taxes in full, but we're trying to establish some kind of a payment schedule. So at least, they are committing to their payments. It has improved. Our taxes receivable levels have decreased from when I checked, as of August 31st, we were down to just above $400,000 in AR unpaid balance from when you first started, 1.2 million. Significant change and
Right, thank you.
That's, that's a good job, our staff has done on behalf of our residents. Working through this. Okay. That's the end of your report?
that's the end of my report.
Okay. Everybody's asked any questions that they had as we went through it. We'll move on to the next item, which is
I
committee.
just need a resolution to
Okay,
receive
read-
and file.
Read that resolution, please.
The West Elgin Council hereby receives and files the Q3 budget to actuals report from Magda Badura, CAO Treasurer.
Mover and seconder, Latham and
Cameron?
Tellier, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move on to board reports, council reports from committees. Anybody have anything they'd like to report? Teresa?
Through the chair, so I had my homeless coalition committee what day are we on today? Yes, yesterday from 1:30 to 3. Not a lot going on because there's a lot of transitioning going on from the weather, from this, it was nicer weather, so people who were living rough or whatever the case may be, they were transitioning to see what it looks like. So we had a plan to go ahead with anybody that in our area had been living rough, and as the winter months came, to transition them into hotels, which they did last winter a little bit too, but that can't happen because Amazon's being built and all the hotels and all the areas are booked. So they were using the motels and such. And then also the inn in St. Thomas they were going to use, and they had an agreement with them, and that's full every single night. So that can't be used. So they're trying to brainstorm if indeed we do have someone in this area that needs that, what does that look like? And then another little note of happy news, which they've been contacting Jana, but the Anglican Church on Morden is ready in the next couple weeks to put up their free little pantry. It'll be the corner of Main and Morden. And they gave out 200 notices to homes around in the area, had 0 negative feedback so far, just all positive. So, and littlefreepantry.org is where you get information about that. Just wanted to add that. I think that's all I had to add for my committees. I've had quite a few lately, actually. I did have a meeting, was supposed to have a meeting for the fair board, but it's been rescheduled. So I'll have to let you know to catch up on that one when it gets scheduled again. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
Do we have a Port Glasgow meeting tomorrow?
Yes.
Apparently.
Okay,
Yes, meeting's still on. Janice will
Okay.
be attending.
okay.
Okay, West Elgin Community Center Board of Management minutes. Any questions from the minutes? Seeing none. No, it's kind of been taken care of. Consideration of items regarding discussion West Lawrence Santa Claus Parade.
So the West Lawrence Santa Claus Parade has chose to change the routes and the day of the parade. So this is,
Santa busy that day?
they decided Friday night was not appropriate. They'd rather do a Saturday.
Cool. Okay, so any
And
more
there's a-
discussion? There's a recommendation?
Yeah, we've got to support it before we apply for the road closure. Lee needs a resolution in order for insurance
If you'd
purposes.
read the recommendation.
The West Elgin Council hereby supports the closure of Main Street between Ridge Street and Graham Road and between Jane Street and Chestnut Street, or sorry, and Graham Road between Jane Street and Chestnut Streets on November 26, 2022, from 5:30 PM to 7 PM for the West Lawrence Santa Claus Parade.
Any more discussion? Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Cameron. All in favor? Carried. Hey, council inquiries and announcements. Any notice of motion? Seeing none, any statements, inquiries by councilors? Seeing none, matters of urgency. None, we move on to the bylaw portion of our, yep,
Bring this back up for a second to statements.
okay.
I just received information from the IESO yesterday that they had, the Minister of Energy had put some clear recommendations, not recommendations, rules in place for contracting of energy projects. And it does make it quite clear that a municipality must provide.
Councilor Rowe, can I ask you to turn your mic on, please?
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
So the regulations that have been set with recommendations from the Minister of Energy is that a municipality must provide support to any kind of energy project being built on their lands. And so that means that a contract wouldn't be offered unless that support was forthcoming. So it made it quite a bit clearer than the draft regulations had. So that was a good thing. And there was also, I'm sorry, I should have printed this off last night and I didn't. There was a section on Indigenous communities must be consulted and approve of local, it said local Indigenous communities that have jurisdiction over those lands. So that those were two clear changes. So I was pleased about that.
And I think those were two things that were asked.
Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
I know. Very good. Okay, any other statements or matters of urgency? Seeing none, we'll move on to the bylaw portion. Madam Clerk, you have a.
So bylaw 2022-59, the third and final reading of the Mackenzie Drain, that bylaw 2022-59 being a bylaw to provide for the Mackenzie Drain South Branch and St. Thomas More Branch in the municipality of West Elgin be read a third and final time.
We're in seconder, please. Moved by Taille, seconded by, I guess that was a second, was it, Angela?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? And that's carried.
So we're now moving into closed session. That council of the municipality of West Elgin hereby proceeds into closed session at 10:58 a.m.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, here's some allergies. 10:58 a.m. under section 239(2)B in order to give consideration to items pertaining to personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees.
Mover and seconder, please. Rowe and Leatham, all in favor? Carried.
Okay, so
You
give
want a
me a
break?
moment. We've got to lock everything down.
Something for you to read.